Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some I Don't Work Here Lady stories, and the first story of the day is by ALX Walk. I don't know where your rental is, I'm just enjoying my coffee. While my husband collects I Don't Work Here Lady incidents like a politician collecting bribes, I only have 3 on my own. This is one of them. This happened in the spring of 18. My mother had traveled abroad to visit one of her relatives, so when she was flying back, I went to get her. We live about 3 hours away from the airport. Because our oldest was recovering from a stomach bug, hubby decided to stay home with the kids and I would get my mother and bring her home. My mother's flight was scheduled to arrive at 13:15, but when I got there, I found out they had a 2-hour delay and I had to wait. I thought, alright, I'll enjoy a coffee while I wait, and notified my husband. The weather was good, low 20s Celsius with no clouds, and decided to have my coffee on the outside patio of a coffee shop. I grabbed my tablet and, because the airport is a bit windy, a yellow windbreaker. And apparently that was the problem. I was reading my book on my tablet, enjoying my coffee, wearing my yellow windbreaker when I heard a, "Hey you." I didn't think it was directed at me and continued reading. Then I feel someone looming above me and a, "I'm talking to you." I looked up to see a man looking down at me. The following exchange happened. I say yes. This Chad says, "Where is my rental?" Thinking that he was asking where the rental companies had desks, I replied that they were on the other side of the arrivals area. "Okay, be a good employee and bring it here." I will certainly not do that. I don't work for the rentals. "Yes you are, now go and get it." No. The thing goes back and forth like we're 4-year-olds when Karen inserts herself in the conversation. "Honey, what's taking so long?" "This employee here doesn't want to bring our rental." Karen comes and grabs my windbreaker's lapel and puts her face uncomfortably close to mine. "Listen, you little witch. Me and my husband are very good clients. I don't care if you're on your break, but if you don't bring the car in 3 minutes, we will get you fired." Me, extremely pissed at that point. "Listen, witch, take your paws off me or we will have trouble." "Oh, you threaten me? Me? Oh, you are so getting fired." At that point, she swings her arm, hitting the coffee, spilling it on the table, missing the tablet, and on me. Me standing up, "Freak off, witch, go find your own freaking rental." Karen at that point slapped me, while her husband was screaming obscenities. I flipped and slapped her back, which initiated a fight. When the initial argument began, a couple of bystanders had taken notice. The shouting match had attracted a crowd, and when the fight started, somebody called the cops. 2 officers came and separated us. Police officer 1 says, "What happened?" Chad says, "The employee refused to help us and then attacked my wife." "I don't work here, you dip, and your wife attacked me." Police officer 2 says, "Madam, language please." "I want to press charges." Police officer 1 says, "Okay, all of you are coming with us." We ended up on the airport police station. One officer went to get the manager of the rental company, and the other reviewed the tapes with his boss. The rental company manager verified I wasn't an employee. They wear white shirts and black ties and a lanyard with their access ID. I was wearing a Cthulhu shirt and jeans. The cameras verified the attack. I pressed charges and left to get my mother. Let me ask you guys, do you think you would be a physical person in moments like this? Especially when somebody like a Karen would go ahead and slap you? Are you the kind of person that would return that kind of reaction to them, meaning physically, or would you still try and find some alternative way of handling it? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Ronsky Gorzama. Military recruiter almost asks me out because he mistook me, a 16-year-old girl, for a teacher. This was a couple years ago, and I've since graduated and turned 18, so if that guy is reading this, feel free to DM me. Anyways, for context, our school has military recruiters show up from time to time, and they will have a table set up in the commons under the stairs around lunchtime so that they can talk to kids. They're always super chill, so I made it a point to talk to them whenever they came around. They also sometimes visited classes and gave little presentations. This guy had visited my choir class early on in the morning that day. I had been sitting among the other students and had even asked him a couple questions about recruitment. Fast forward an hour or two, and I had run an errand for my teacher and was walking back to my classroom. To get back to my class faster, I cut through the commons. Lunch was starting soon, so the recruiter was just hanging out by the table. When he saw me, he immediately hopped up and came around to the front of the table. Recruiter, in a very flirty tone of voice, "Hey, you're a teacher, right?" I say, "No, I'm a sophomore." That's it. That was the whole conversation. The second I said those words, the poor guy turned beet red and didn't say another word. He just walked away. I had no idea how to respond, so I just left him there and went back to class. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing if you were a sophomore in high school and you ended up getting mistaken for a teacher. Either your attire was very mature for your age, or this dude legitimately thought you were noticeably older than 16, which I don't even know how you're supposed to take that, but probably not great. This next story is by Gareth GC84. Just glad I could help. So years ago, I happened to be in a mall, meandering through a Walden Books one weekend, looking for some Sudoku books or something, most likely. I was wearing shorts, sandals, nothing that made it seem like I was an employee there. And yet... "Excuse me, can you help us with something? We're looking for a cookbook." Me, fat foodie that I am. "Sure, what are you looking for?" "We're trying to remember the author, but we're having trouble." "Okay, do you know the kind of food the author cooks?" Ladies 1 and 2 say no. Lady 1 says, "French, maybe? She always sounded like she was drunk." Me scratching my head, "Julia Child?" "Yes, that's the one. Thank you, She starts looking for a name tag and realizes I don't have one. "Oh, you don't work here, do you?" "No, but I do like books. Just glad I could help." To be fair, Julia Child does have a very unique voice, and describing her as always sounding drunk actually seems pretty accurate. This next story is by XDeathWish123X. Lady snapped at me to get off my phone while I was picking up decorations in a different store while on the phone to my boss. Okay, so this happened a few years ago at my first job. I worked at a games arcade in a large shopping center and I loved it. Started there when I was 15 and worked there till I was 19. I ended up getting all my school friends jobs there and I was very close with the boss. It was like a little family. Now, we had these black and gray polo staff shirts and we all wore lanyards with the keys on it for convenience. Keep this in mind. Anyway, I think it was like one of the last years I worked there and it was getting around mid-October. So my boss gave me some money and asked me to go buy some decorations from the dollar shop down a few levels and spook up the store a little bit. As someone who loves Halloween and decorating and spooky crap, I was thrilled to do this. Unfortunately, when it comes to spending someone else's money, I'm super paranoid about getting the right thing. So I get down to the store and spend like 10 minutes umming and ahhing about what to get. So I decide to call my boss and just run him through what I was thinking of getting for the store, and as I'm explaining to him, this middle-aged lady comes up to me, clearly not very impressed. Excuse me, I need some help here. Surely staff shouldn't be on their phone out on the store floor in front of customers." I turned around, took the phone down from my ear and said, "Oh, sorry, but I don't work here." And holy freak, it was the funniest thing ever. I reckon she crapped her pants right there and then, after using that tone and crap to me, and then realizing I didn't work there. It was freaking brilliant. She apologized and then walked off afterwards, and my boss heard the whole thing, and I got back to the store, and we had a good cackle about it. To be fair though, I was in a work uniform and had a lanyard, so I can understand her confusion, and I would have felt bad for her if she hadn't been a runt about it. Confusion definitely happens. Even if I saw an employee in any kind of retail setting on their phone, I might get a little bit annoyed, but I'm not gonna walk up to them and be like, I need some help. Surely you shouldn't be on your phone in front of me." I just can't thrive off that kind of energy. Our next story is by Nihal Noiten. Still receiving calls on my dead grandpa's phone for a job he never had. Apologies in advance if this is not the average "I don't work here" story that ends with the evil entitled supermarket Karen or Chad arrested, with cheers and applause from the crowd. Also, I don't live in an anglophone country, so apologies in advance for my usage of the language. My granddad died a few months ago in the very end of September. Everyone in the family is still very sad. He was beloved by all of us. My mother in particular still hasn't quite gotten over it. For example, she still has his cell phone always charged in case that anyone calls. My granddad knew a lot of people and worked in different countries, so he had a lot of acquaintances and friends who still live abroad who we couldn't track down to tell them the bad news. However, other than the occasional old friend, most calls on that phone come from people seeking legal translations. This is rather weird since my granddad never worked in such a field, but apparently someone wrote the wrong number on the tribunal's webpage of another city, and while it was removed, this number is probably still available somewhere else because people keep calling. These calls are usually quite hard to conduct because many people who are in need of legal translation are newly immigrated people who do not in fact speak, either at all or in a comprehensible enough way, the language. But they almost always end with them understanding and often saying nice words of condolences and apologies for the mistake, not even theirs. However, the true "I don't work here" story starts here. I pick up the phone, and a loud man tells me right away without greetings or anything that he needs a legal translation ASAP. Because he needs to travel. Didn't quite get the mechanics, and I'm not even sure he understood those either. So he needed my email to send me the file. Spoke fluently the language with a local accent, clearly one of those sovereign citizens that fit on best of legal advice, not an immigrant seeking help to not be kicked out unceremoniously. When he is finished talking, I politely tell him that it was the wrong number and that he should call someone else. To which he replies that I must be mistaken because my number was on that list. At that point, I was a bit surprised and replied to him that I knew my job definitely didn't involve translations of any sort, nor wasting my time answering entitled and rude a-holes. At that, he got super mad, started yelling, so I just turned off the phone call. I wrote down the phone number and I didn't answer to it anymore. The next 2 times he called. After a couple hours, another number calls. This time, a woman, clearly pissed. She too starts demanding stuff without a word of greeting. After she is finished speaking, I tell her politely once again the things I said to the first man, and she gets mad too out of the blue. Guess what? She was the wife of the first man, who pretended to know nothing, who just called to see if I was bluffing or whatever and wanted the chance to yell at someone apparently. So I told her that it was good finding that a-holes married each other, that they could go freak off together somewhere else, and I turned off the call. At that point, they both kept calling, so I started picking up just to shut the call after they said a couple of words of increasing madness. I could hear their voices getting high-pitched, broken and raspy, and I swear I could have heard their veins popping. And after a while, I guess they got bored, or had a stroke or whatever, and stopped calling. So yeah, I wasted some time, mine and theirs, got my liver rotten as we say here, and nobody was happy. What is wrong with people? Being rude from the first second, not even greeting, and getting mad for no reason. I guess for some people, when they have a sense of urgency or they feel under pressure, that might make them act out, but I doubt that's the case for these people. They seem just like a couple totally entitled people. And our final story of the day is by Gary B. Watts. She doesn't work there anymore, lady. My wife used to be a corporate travel agent. She handled large companies like Microsoft, the software company, and Boeing, the airplane company. She had done this for over a decade and was really good at this. One day, out of the blue, she is let go. Apparently, she was talking to someone on the phone and let out a sigh. The bigwig on the other end took this as a slight and asked that she be fired. My wife was the only person who handled these accounts for years, so there were no notes or guides on how to handle these clients. I noticed that day after day, she would be getting a call and be instructing the person on the other end of the call on how to do her job. I asked her what was up, and she said they keep asking her for help because they don't know what to do. At the end of the week, I guess she put in at least 20 hours talking to her replacement, trying to help them out. Following week, Monday rolls around and she gets another call. My wife was away from the phone and I pick up. As I suspected, it was her old employer. I can be a nice guy, but this had been pissing me off. When they asked for my wife and I confirmed that it was her old employer, the conversation pretty much went like this. She doesn't work there anymore. I just needed to ask her a few questions. Your company fired her for sighing. I'm sorry about that, but we have a few questions. She spent over half her week last week talking to you. She doesn't work there anymore. If you want her to train your staff, you will need to bring her in as a consultant. HR, silence. The hourly fee for consulting with you will be $45 an hour. I'll be sending your company an invoice for the 20 hours she has already spent with you. After receipt of the $900 from your company, we can talk about further training. Any further communication will also be billed at $45 an hour. Okay, thank you. Hangs up. I could have been nicer, but having worked many contract jobs in my past, I found that if you keep helping them after you are let go out of a sense of loyalty, they will keep using you at no cost. The best thing is that my wife wound up getting a job at that software company, testing a travel agency app they were designing. She got a substantial raise as well. If you fired me, I'm not going to stick around and keep helping you and give you answers to all your problems. You fired me, you're the one that has to replace me. Unless you're paying me money to come back and help you and cover all the training you need, why would you ever expect that out of anybody? But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So, until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.